So, Roblox's new obsession has dropped, and it's basically fish mixed with dungeon quests called The Forge. And today I'll describe my journey and see if the game was worth its sudden popularity. Subscribe to become OP. Exhibit A, the early beginnings of The Forge. So loading into The Forge, we are met with a tutorial where you meet Sensei Moru, who, like every other quest giver in this game, will make your experience of this game a living hell with their extremely grindy quests. Then you are snapped right into the ever so familiar race reroll screen, which I have increasingly grown to hate over time. And in this game, there's basically like maybe 4 actual useful races out of 13, those being Dwarf, Angel, Demon, and Goblin, because of their passive, which can either help you mine better or in the case of Demon, help you out in the PvE of this game. Only good part about this race system is how different each one looks. Of course, I didn't get any of the mythics because of course not. And I settled with the dwarf because it helped me mine quicker, so I'ma just have to be 3 foot for the rest of the game. The codes in this game are absolutely terrible, not to mention they barely give them out and only give you a couple rerolls because the devs want people to spend thousands on rerolls, which I simply won't fall for. Then you are instructed to go to the mines and start your dose of work for the day. This is the core gameplay of The Forge, mining rocks, literally. I basically got tricked into becoming one of my ancestors for a day. The ores you get only really matter if they have a passive that helps with the forging part of the game, like Poopite, which has the passive of poisoning enemies, which I'm sure some of the Forge player base also has if they're not showering. But once you get done wading in the water, you go back to learn how to forge, which is the second most important part of the gameplay loop. Heavily inspired by literally a cool math game I used to play in the computer lab called Jack Smith, a lot of the ores that don't have buffs are kinda useless, I'm not gonna lie. Weapons can either be super fast like the gauntlets, or katana, or super slow like the gut sword. And low-key, honestly, you should go for attack speed every single time in this game because the DPS is super high on the fast weapons. But armor has another issue. Basically, every armor type that isn't heavy is useless because the armor types below heavy don't have nearly as much defense and don't provide any extra buffs like to your attack or speed and whatnot. So what's the point of ever going light or medium armor? Something I hope they fix as the game gets updated. And of course, just like its twin fish, you can upgrade pickaxes, which have a luck multiplier, and mine power/speed, which some ores will actually require you to have before you mine them. You also have potions and totems which can help you while you're mining, whether that be mining speed or luck. But other than that, of course, is the PvE you can do in this game, which consists of parry and M1s. The parry usually is very inconsistent due to the lag that is very present in this game, which made me die quite a few times, but it could be a skill issue. I don't know at this point. But also the mobs in this game early on basically all function the same. 2 M1s and that's it, which makes honestly farming better weapons early on kind of pointless because you'll just run through any mob no matter what weapon you have as long as it's decent. Yo. Oh my god, yo! The mobs also drop runes for your weapons and pickaxe to make them better. Now onto the quests that are found on this first island. You have a couple basic ore and the Vanderveer quest, and then you have the other 2 main quests being the Bard quest, where you must find a guitar hidden in the mines. This also allows you to get a key for one of the best axes in the game, the Arcane Axe. But then you have this cat quest, which leads you to the worst designed quest in the game. But you aren't going to be on the first island for too long, but honestly, dare I say, it wasn't too bad of an experience compared to the second world, mainly due to there being less grind, but that's besides the point. Also realize the index and achievement system is like mad important. The index gives you tons of cash and the achievement system helps you get buffs in various ways. I straight up cheesed the critical chance one with the lucky block glitch. If you know, you know. Oh, I'm gonna cry, bro. There's no way I max this thing out, bro. I can't. You know, I eventually had to analyze the story of this game to see just how pay to win it is. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it about a 5 or a 6. You have about 6 game passes, and the only ones that are worth it is Better Forge, which allows you to basically get Mastercraft items from forging every time unless you're blind or suffer from like bad internet. Fast Forge, which allows you to skip the annoying bucket pouring and the gooning sesh at the beginning. Supporter, which gives you a luck boost and an EXP boost, which will always be useful in this hell of a game. But as I kept playing, I realized something very interesting. This game is basically an RNG game disguised as an RPG because literally everything in this game is RNG based. The ores you mine, the type of weapons and armor you craft, the entire race system, hell, even the runes and enhancement stuff is all off RNG. Not saying it's necessarily bad because Souls RNG and Fish wish they could be even close to this exciting to play. It's probably the best RNG game out right now, which isn't really an accomplishment now that I'm thinking about it. Exhibit B, the hellish grind of The Forge. Now, World 2 is the part of the game that will really test your patience for games like these, because the grind that you will take part of will actually make you lose your mind if you hate grind games. It also feels like the developers put majority of the content in World 2 instead of balancing out between both World 1 and World 2, which I think would have been a better choice, honestly. And yes, I understand the game says beta, but let's be real, developers only put that there so they can evade all criticism and hide behind the game being unfinished. But once you add microtransactions and make your game public, that excuse goes out of the window in my opinion. But World 2 starts out with you talking to the slave master, I mean Sensei Moro, as he sends you on your way to deliver a box to Captain Rowan, literally the devil himself, who gives you the worst quest in World 2 repeatedly. But you remember that missing cat quest, right? Well, say hello to the Goblin King, who wants you to pay a grand total of $85,000 to get into his cave for a cat.
Stole that shit. That's what I do, nigga. Fuck me, I stole that shit.
People hated this quest so much to the point where they literally found glitches and exploits to get into the cave, which I couldn't do because it was patched beforehand. And in the cave itself had basically no good ore in it. Not to mention the cat quest only gives you 20k back, literally the worst possible designed quest in the game. What were the developers honestly thinking? But other than that quest, we have the guy who tells you his whole life story and then wants a health potion 1 specifically. This bounty hunter who wants you to eradicate the skeletons of the ruined cave mine. Then you have the demonic pickaxe quest, which is on the same tier as the arcane pickaxe. But essentially 90% of World 2 grind is exactly that. You mine until you get full inventory, you fill up your index, and then you go to the forge and just craft heavy armor to sell in order to unlock the necessary pickaxes for progression. And then rinse and repeat until you are finally able to get the arcane pickaxe back in World 1. Now World 2 is 100% where the game starts to show 90% of its flaws, especially in terms of the uninspired quests, if you can even call them that. Every time you complete one task, another one pops up and it's even more grindy. Like even a fetch quest or storyline or two would have been more interesting than this, since this game is supposedly also an RPG. Another big problem is the actual mobs themselves, which are basically nothing but training dummies or actually give you a challenge, which basically makes trading stronger weapons pointless until you get to the volcanic area. You also have these skeletons who run around with a bomb strapped to them who try to literally almost one-shot you, which I've died to them many times. The mobs in this area, however, do drop bonite, which is just another useless rare ore for the index. But as you are mining, the key to being as efficient of a worker as possible is finding 2 or 3 rocks close to each other and then mining them at the same time. There's basically like a couple good areas for this throughout the ruined mine. You will cycle through this for hours, leading to immense boredom because you can't even AFK due to the fact that the enemies also spawn in those same areas, so you are forced to endure this painful grind. Man, this game literally sounds like torture the way I'm describing it. I mean, I literally started to lose my mind about halfway through the grinding.
Okay. Dark skin girls, you can put it in my video. Thick girls, you can put it in my video.
But once you start mining cobalt cores, you can actually start getting legendary ores, starting with the eye ore. Finally, after hours, I got the arcane pickaxe by skipping everything after mithril axe, and I went to the volcanic area with all the good stuff as of right now. Then you are met with the ultimate AFK spot right at the spawn, and it gets wicked here. Is bro trying to avoid getting griefed? Has it really gotten this serious? Bro is going crazy. Usually you see multiple people ganged up all mining the exact same basalt vein trying to steal the material. Or you might get people who grief and try to get people killed.
And this greedy motherfucker decides to bring the monster over to me. There is no way the forge gets this serious. This is a sign to hop your stinky ass in the shower.
Just absolute chaos, because this is one of the only spots where you could genuinely AFK for hours if you wanted to, up until you get full stash. Then you go back and make the armors again and sell. I just wish the developers actually gave incentive to mine around enemies, like maybe a higher luck boost or specific rocks that spawn around a lot of enemies or something, so that people wouldn't just try to AFK in the same area. Then I went to the actual volcanic area itself, which can get pretty toxic due to only a certain amount of volcanic rocks actually spawning, which give you the best ore in the game currently. So people just either get very greedy or use literally none of their brain cells, not like they had any to begin with, and mine bad ore rocks that causes them to take forever to respawn. Because the method is to crack the rock until it gets to like 1.3k health, look inside, then dip and wait for it to respawn fully grown. Kind of like some fathers in the world actually. But the biggest menaces down here, and probably the only good mob, is the Reapers, because they actually pose sort of a challenge if you can't parry. But they are fun to fight. Who would have thought 15 hours in the devs would actually add a well-designed enemy? The other mobs down here are reskin skeletons and a lava slime. Why is bro down here with this weak sword? Look at him. He's about to die. Why? Let me help them out. He actually died. god. There's also this new mage skeleton enemy that was added, but he's also super easy to defeat. Oh my, that's so lame. Exploiters also run rampant in World 2, but it's basically a guarantee with grindy games like this that have a weak anti-cheat. But once you suffer through the volcanic grind, you can finally get the good armors and weapons. I got gauntlets that literally explode, and then the armor is black and the chest plate is see-through. The coolest part about the armor and weapon crafting system is the actual look of them. They do genuinely look pretty cool. But one of the coolest parts about all this is being able to run through all the mobs in World 2 by the end of your grind, because it actually kind of makes all of this worth it. But I don't think I could take this type of grind forever. Seriously, we need some new quests. Exhibit C, the future for the Forge. As long as the Forge developers don't sell to do big, I think this game has a chance of surviving more than 3 months. But it's up to Fire Attack to see if this really is the passion project he so desperately claims it is. They want to add PvP to this game, and let me tell you, the combat needs a complete rework for PvP to even work in this game. I can't even imagine how PvP would be in this game right now without a combat rework. Fast attack speed weapons will rule the game because the combat in this game will heavily favor them. The parry system isn't good enough to fit the PvP. They need to go for something like Deep Woken instead of Blaze of Chance level combat. But as far as what's actually being added to the game, it honestly looks pretty solid. It's a winter themed map with bosses confirmed, and then you have these ice spider models and animations which look good honestly. And then you of course have the spear weapon being added, which looks like it'll actually be good. The biggest issue this game might have is power creep, because what RNG type game doesn't have it at this point? With every update comes more and more grind that makes what you grinded for before pointless. I just hope this game doesn't follow that same path, because I will actually quit it. But overall, I'll give The Forge a solid 7 out of 10, and it absolutely smashes all of the games around it. But as I say in every video, if you guys enjoyed this video and like some more content like this one, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.